There are so many new beauty launches at the moment. I thought I'd try some of them with you and we can see what they're like together. Hiya, I hope you're keeping well. Today I just wanted to have a play with a few new things that have either come to me to try or that I've bought because I've seen them getting a lot of attention online. So it's going to be a bit of a simple get ready. I hope you enjoy. As always, everything I've used is listed in the description of the video. So if you click to make it a full screen, the title will come up along the top. Click the arrow next to it and a full list of products will drop down. So first of all today, I've got a patch of eczema that sometimes flares up on my eye and I'm just going to ignore that and focus on the complexion. But I still want to put some mascara on. Now, full disclosure, if you've got anything that you need to see a doctor about with your skin or anything like that, I'm not condoning that you put any makeup on it. The reason I'm going to put my mascara on today is because that's a tubing mascara and so it removes a bit differently and kind of crumbles away. Brilliant for you if you notice panda eyes because it doesn't print or smudge in any way. But also because of the way it removes, I can just kind of rub my lashes with some water downwards and I'm not going to touch this at all and the mascara will remove that way. Now, the other day, I've got a few things actually to show you that this girl, Kirbie, recommended. Kirbie Johnson, she's my new kind of favourite person I found on Instagram. She's a journalist, beauty journalist, and she shares like great updates, interviews with makeup artists, that kind of thing. And she put a video up using a lash guard or an eyeshadow guard. I'd never seen one before, and I just ordered one quickly. And essentially, you hold it to your lashes and then say if I'm going to put my mascara on now, it's not going to go all over the lid if I've got eyeshadows on. But even if you just want to get right to the root of your lashes, you can be as messy as you want and you're fine. But I ordered this one from Edgar, Rene, Artistry. I basically ordered a few kind of pro makeup pieces that I'll show you today. But this white one is great because you can see every single lash. That's obviously not the most flattering angle, but you can see exactly what you're doing and really catch every single thing. So I thought I'd show you today with the Clinique. This is the High Impact Zero Gravity Mascara. I think the way I've shown you that hasn't even remotely given you the name, but that's the kind of thing you would expect in one of my videos, isn't it? And let's just see now, we can get right in there and get that mascara on and none of it's on the lid. Now I'm just going to give that a little wipe before I do the bottom. And then I'm just going to kind of go over myself because I feel like that's great for getting to the root, but you might want to just add a little bit to the tips or whatever. But how good would that be if you're someone that kind of gets your mascara everywhere or just wants that extra reassurance, in particular if you've done your eyeshadow and you don't want it all over your eyeshadow? Really good little tool. Now, the next thing I'm going to use a small bit of is the Silk Cream from Tatcha. Full disclosure, I've never used this before. This is the very first time trying it. Whenever I mention a new kind of skincare product, I get a lot of rosacea questions, understandably. But it's the very first try, so I'll let you know how I go. But if you are a fan of Tatcha, it's coming to the UK at Space NK. So it's one of those brands I think that people absolutely love. My friend Paige loves it, and the minute I heard about it, I was like, Paige, look what's coming. Space NK at the moment, I have to say, have just got so many lovely things. The next thing I'm gonna use for the first time is the Rare Beauty Tinted Moisturiser. But I just feel like in terms of going to the shops and having a mooch, that's definitely the place to go right now. They've got all kinds in there. While I'm just letting that settle for a moment, I'm going to work backwards and do my lips, and I'm going to use the Vieve lip liner in Brat first of all. Sometimes I feel like whatever I'm using in a video might be different to what I'm throwing in my handbag to get out the door. And I had this chat with a friend of mine the other day. She said, would you do a video of just what you tend to use on an average day or whatever? And I definitely will do that. But I would say the Vieve lip liners are in my bag a lot of the time. I love that once you've drawn your lips on, whether you team it with a balm, which is what I'm going to do today, or a lipstick, they really will stay in place. So for a long lasting liner, especially for the likes of me who, let's be honest, draws on a whole new lip shape, they're really good. Now with that, obviously that's quite brown. To soften it out a little bit, this is my newest, like, you know what I'm like for a lip balm, absolutely mad about them. The Kiss Kiss Bee Glow in Rose Glow from Guerlain is one of those lip balms that just flushes to a shade of pink, really comfortable and hydrating. And what I like about these is that if you've put your lip balm on and then you've had a few cups of tea or your lunch or whatever, you've still got a little flush to the cheeks. So I'm going to use this now. And then I might just retrace a tiny bit of the brown. Now then, on my complexion today, I'm going to try for the first time the Rare Beauty Tinted Moisturiser. I love Rare Beauty as a brand. I think it's such a lovely one. I really think it's been a long time since I've been as excited about a new brand. Haven't used this yet, but in particular TikTok, I feel like is just full of rave reviews. However, the fact that it's a tinted moisturiser, I mean, I'm using it for the first time today, so I could be wrong, but it seems quite sheer. So what I'm going to do, I've been experimenting with this week. I bought this RCMA foundation that Kirbie Johnson, again, had recommended. It is just one of, honestly, like I've only had it for, I don't know, a week or something. It's one of the best things I ever bought. What's great about it is I've been putting it onto, like what I'll do now is put my tinted moisturiser on and then just press a bit of this over the top. So let's try the two together. I wore this all day after I'd filmed this video, so I just thought I'd do a voiceover. I think it's lovely. The finish is quite natural and skin-like. It's not overly shiny. Really lovely and fresh if you want something lightweight, but for me with the redness, it's not quite enough coverage. So I put the RCMA on top of it, which gave me the coverage over the redness and kind of captured the rest of the finish everywhere else. But genuinely, if you wanted something really soft and fresh, I think you'd really like this, and it wore beautifully all day. Absolutely love that, by the way. I'll wear this for the day and let you know how it wears. But from here, the next thing I want to use is one of these Tower 28 creams. So I don't think I've done a video on these creams, but basically Tower 28 was, surprise, surprise, one of Laura's recommendations. Anything that I go and buy or like beeline for that I haven't looked at in ages, I will always see it on Laura's page and think, oh, I want to try that. Laura I'm referring to is Laura Capon. I'm sure you have her already. If you don't already have her in your Instagram or TikTok or wherever you're reading your information, she's a beauty journalist as well. Do you know what I love about Laura? I'm going to use, by the way, Bronzino Gold Coast while I go into this. She gives really honest reviews and she gives you really helpful information that you wouldn't think to ask. Like you'll be watching a review and she'll tell you, you know, use your hands instead of a brush, or it's just sometimes things like that that can make such a huge difference. So I think that you'd really love her videos. Now, this is really quite shimmery. I'm using for this, by the way, the Nudestix brush, which is great because it's quite small. I said this the other day about the Charlotte Tilbury brush. Like, let's be honest, full disclosure here. You know my holy grail of all time is the IT Cosmetics Complexion Perfection brush. Love it. No better brush for your makeup, full stop, but in particular your base. But like in this instance, where I've got this quite shimmery formula, I can't really use a large brush with this because I need a lot of control, because I need to make sure it goes in the right areas and doesn't like end up all over my face before I realise what I've done. So the Nudestix brush is great for those tiny accents, and that makes sense as well because a lot of the Nudestix products are in a small stick, not all of them, but lots of. And so if you did want to pick up your blush or bronzer or anything, it makes sense that you've got this slightly smaller brush for a bit more control. I would say as well, if you're used to your Complexion Perfection brush like I am, the Nudestix is slightly denser. And another one of the things that I do a lot with my personal makeup is press products on rather than rubbing them in so that I'm building coverage. And so because this is so dense, it's really good to just chisel on in there and pack things on without disrupting the rest of your makeup. Now I've got a bit of texture in the centre of my forehead there that I'm assuming you can see, but I don't have, like, I film everything on my iPhone, So I kind of wish I could show you in a bit more detail, but for what you can see, I'm going to take that down probably with a bit of powder and avoid that area with anything shimmery. I mean, side note, I was so distracted talking about that brush that I feel like I haven't taken a moment to think about how nice that bronzer is. It looked like it was going to be really super shimmery in the pan, and I mean, it is luminous, but it's just on the right side of luminous that I feel like I won't need to use a separate highlighter, so I won't do that. And I don't know what I've done there, but I've just knocked my nose slightly, so I'm going back in with a touch of this. I'm going to go over that again so that we're nice and clean around the nose. Okay, the next thing I'm going to use, same brush, I've just kind of buffed off the excess on the back of my hand. When I bought the RCMA foundations, I got this little blusher palette. I just thought it'd be nice to have in my kit, and I wanted to see the texture and consistency, because from what I had seen about the foundation, it seemed really lightweight but with lots of pigment. And what I'm going to do today is use this dusky colour all over and then a pop of the coral. I feel like with the eczema today, I know it's a bit distracting, but the thing is, while we're having a chat, basically this week I didn't have any meetings or anything. I was at home, and that's when I can really get into doing my videos, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity to just be able to chill and have a chat while I was here all week. So I am really gently pressing this first colour and working upwards through the cheek. I mean, to be honest, I actually love that on its own, and I don't know if I want to add anything to it. But the reason I wanted to do this was, if you're someone that you've got high colour on your cheeks, or even if you don't and you're just a bit nervous of finding the right blusher shade, this is a tip that David Horne taught me years ago. David Horne, amazing makeup artist to follow on here. He has a makeup school, the House of Glam Dolls. He's definitely like one of the most talented and creative artists I've ever met in my life, and he also is everyone's biggest cheerleader. He doesn't gatekeep any secrets. He tells you everything. He gives you all the tips. He taught me that what you want to do if you've got a colour that you're a bit frightened of, or you want to work it in but you don't want it to be too much, take a neutral colour all over the cheek like this one, and then I'm using now this little coral. You just want to put a tiny flush of that somewhere towards the centre of the face where you're going to see it. I mean, look at it on the back of my hand. Can you imagine? And you know what a good lesson to us all. If you're nervous of a colour, do not go straight onto the face. Go onto the back of your hand. Can you imagine if I had that all over my face now? But we can still enjoy this. We just need to learn our boundaries. So, buffing that right out. I'm just going to add like the tiniest flush of it to the fullest part of that cheek. And I feel like even that, such a shame that we've got like the eczema police over here counteracting it. But see how it's just given it a tiny bit more of a lift. And these kind of coral colours are lovely for this time of year. Let's say if you're going for dinner, or you're going to your friend's garden, or you've got something nice to do for the day, you don't need to spend all day doing your makeup. A little pop of colour like that and then a bright lip, you'll feel really put together. I'm actually gonna marry up the cheeks and lips a bit more. So tiny bit of that just through the lips there, so that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, as opposed to like 3 different choirs going off at the same time. Lovely and fresh. I was going to put a highlighter on. I'm not going to bother now. I'm going to leave those fresh. And do you know what I think I might do? I'm not going to powder it, because I want to see how that feels quite velvety in texture. I know it's probably reading a bit more luminous, but in real life it's definitely quite velvety. I think that might be quite nice without the powder, so I'll see how it wears. And then one last thing I thought I'd show you, seeing as we're talking about new launches. I've been using this 11 given fragrance oil for a good few weeks now. With fragrance, I like to have given something like a proper road test before I speak on it, because there's so many things with fragrance, isn't there? It's so personal, and when you put it on first, it can be completely different to how it smells by the end of the day. Is it still there by the end of the day? All of these different things. But basically, this fragrance oil is a unisex oil. It comes in a roller ball. I'm not going to put it on because I've just put it on this hand, and I put this hand on a couple of hours ago because I want to kind of speak to how differently it smells as the day goes on. But basically, unisex oil, it's founded and comprised with lots of essential oils. So you've got this really kind of heady scent from it. But ultimately, it was founded by Deeley and makeup artist Amanda Grossman. They've been friends for years, and by all accounts, this was kind of an elixir that Amanda used to make for her clients to have more of a holistic impact on them. So something to kind of calm or even re-energize. And they wanted to kind of bring this multi-purpose solution that you could use in that way, wear as your traditional fragrance, however you want to use it. Now, when that first came, I feel like I speak on behalf of lots of people from Birmingham or the Midlands when I say that we've all just got a huge soft spot for Deeley. Nothing better than turning on the TV and actually hearing your own accent. Never mind those of us that grew up in the glory days of SMTV, Cat, Ant and Dec, the best thing ever. But genuinely, I made a beeline for it for that reason. I was just really intrigued. What had she created? And when I first put this on, to be completely honest with you, it felt too strong for me. I wasn't sure I was going to like it. Left it a little moment to settle in, really kind of dry down. Completely different fragrance. Now, when you first apply this, obviously with those essential oils, you get this really heady hit, and it's a very powerful smell. But having let it settle down, I really like kind of earthy, quite green scents. I wear lots of different fragrances, to be honest with you, but in particular that kind of anything that's got fig in it or moss or those kinds of smells, I love them. And how I've been wearing this actually is that if I have something that's lighter or prettier, I picked something today and I was thinking, what could I give as an example of something really light and pretty? This is Tatcha Bell. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this properly, but I remember last summer having a series of new launches to kind of smell and try, and thinking that this was a really fresh, pretty, girly kind of smell. Team it with the 11 and it just gives it that little kind of, I don't want to say smoky edge because it's not a smoky note, that earthy edge. It kind of gives it that grassy, green, slightly more sophisticated smell, and gives it a lot of depth. And I think if you've got something more lightweight that you want to transform a little bit, that's how I've been kind of wearing mine, in a layer with whatever I'm wearing that day, and it will give it that slightly more deep smell. But also, really crucially for this time of year, obviously it's so warm and we're all kind of hot skin to the touch. If your fragrance is largely kind of alcohol based, that will evaporate so much more quickly, whereas an oil-based fragrance is going to last that bit longer. If you think of like an oil burner, that as it gets warmer, the smell just gets more and more potent. I think that because that's so oil-based, it really harnesses a lot of lasting power for whatever you put on top of it, and you get that bit more of, you know, a lasting wear from your fragrance. So I don't know if that would be something that, you know, everyone would want to do, but I'm finding layering this with all of my kind of tried and tested is really just giving them that extra little edge, and I think it's really lovely. And then one last really quick one that I'm just going to put at the end here, I hope you don't mind, but basically whenever I get a question in, I write it in a book that I've got and I try and work through the questions in my videos. And you've asked me a few times, how do I really thoroughly wash my It Cosmetics Complexion Perfection brush? And again, I know this is a brush that lots of us have here on this page, so I thought I'd go into it. The Complexion Perfection brush, I wash this more than any of my other brushes because I do think it holds onto the foundation, and also when that is freshly washed, you just get like the nicest finish you could ever wish for. If you're finding that you've got stubborn foundation in there or it's not coming out, the tip I'm going to share, I'm not trying to be wasteful. I'm not suggesting you do it every day, because whenever you make something a bit of a controversial suggestion, you're in for like getting cancelled in your own comments. Every now and again, not every single time, a little bit of cleansing oil in your brush will get rid of the stubborn foundation. Because if you think about your cleansing oil, how quickly it dissolves the makeup from your face, it's going to do exactly the same with your brush. Tiny bit of oil, melt it in, it gets rid of the bulk of that foundation. Another cleaner that I've been using recently that I think is fantastic is the Cinema Secrets. I'm doing this, I haven't got it, it's upstairs in the bathroom. Cinema Secrets soap in a tin, big kind of like pan of a hard soap. It's lasted me ages, and I wash so many brushes. So if you're washing, you know, a handful of 5 or 6 brushes that you've used that week, it will last you a really long time. The lid has little grooves in it, so if you swill your brush into the soap and then get into the lid and give it a massage, it will break down all of that stuff and melt it away. As a general rule, I tend to use the blue fairy liquid on my brushes because that's antibacterial as well. Loads of different options, but honestly, in terms of that stubborn foundation, a little touch of cleansing oil, and then hopefully once you've got the bulk of the stubborn foundation out, you can just kind of continue to use your fairy liquid or your soap or whatever you're using to keep on top of them as you go along. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please feel free, as always, to let me know in the comments if there's anything in particular you'd like to see a video on, and I'll chat to you very soon. Take care.